Hello and welcome back, dear listeners, to another episode of our podcast series about artificial intelligence. This podcast is brought to you by the MAMMOth project. Today, we are very happy to have a special guest with us, Professor Federica Russo. Welcome, Federica. She is a full professor in philosophy and ethics of Techno-Science at Utrecht University. Her research focuses on how we produce knowledge in science, how methods change, and the ethical questions that come with technology, especially in health and social sciences. Having said that, let's start with the conversation, let's say. So, Miquel, do you have any question for Federica?
Of course. So the first section of this podcast, we wanted to focus on the epistemological side of science. So we are seeing big changes on how science is done, right, Fran? And is now used as in many areas, for example, on how help us to understand how proteins fold, and maybe it's helping us to organize data when we do this particle collisions where we have to store and manage lots of data. So AI is helping to retrieve the nice data, right? So we have many other examples, but my question would be, how do you think AI is changing the way we do science and how we understand knowledge right now?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question, but especially thank you for having me in the podcast. And the question that you ask related to AI in science is very timely. Philosophers of science are starting looking into this problem in a systematic way, and there are indeed big changes that have already happened and the big changes ahead, not only in the data collection and analysis, but I would say also in the modes of collaboration between humans and machines. And this is leading to reconceptualize what knowledge is, in my view. But we have to be very careful about the choices that we want to make ahead, because often we phrase the questions in terms of what will happen to science without considering that we are the scientists and we can also make decisions about which changes we really want to see happen and which changes we do not want to see happen.
Thank you very much, Federica. So how do you think maybe that science will become more maybe automated? Will AI ever do research on its own in futuristic laboratories? What's your opinion about this?
There are already cases in which part of the research is automated and outsourced to the machines and to the AI in particular. And so we really have to treat this AI system as proper epistemic agents that contribute to the making of knowledge. Now, again, the extent to which this will become a standard depends very much on choices that we want to make, but also perhaps depends on the suitability of this role for AI. And I know that there is already some work in progress related to the role of AI in these systems. And what I think is emerging is that first of all, we shouldn't forget that humans are always in the loop one way or another. So even when there is a lot of work outsourced, this is inputted or prompted by humans. And also we choose how much we want to outsource. This is the first element. The second element is that we have to make decisions, or at least be aware that some of the results that we get may not be fully transparent to us. This is the problem that has been called the opacity or the black box of AI. And so if some of the results are not clear to us in terms of how they have been produced by the machines, are we ready to accept them or not, or under what conditions? And so there is a lot of work to be done on the epistemological level to decide how we want to work with these machines and what we want to take from the results of this analysis.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
You mentioned that artificial intelligence is already an epistemic agent, right? Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? What do you mean with epistemic agent?
Yeah, there are two key questions there, epistemic and agent. So let me begin with the idea of agent. Some people will feel uncomfortable in calling machines agents, but here I have a very minimal understanding of agency that is based essentially on being able to interact in some way or another, and especially does not presuppose consciousness or intentionality. So if you are comfortable with giving with this minimal understanding of agency, then AI does qualify as an agent. Okay, even a large language model does not understand anything, still interacts, produces semantic content, etc. I call them, or I would like to call them, epistemic agents in this case, because they properly contribute to epistemic tasks in the scientific process. So clearly, because they don't have a consciousness, intentionality, and understanding, we can't ascribe them the full ownership of the epistemic product, which is understanding a problem or building a theory. But certainly, they do give us enough material for us then to do the other part. So they are epistemic because they contribute to these epistemic tasks, and there are many of them. I hope this helps.
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we're addressing very complex topics. So, Fran, do you have more questions for Federica?
Yeah, but now I would like to jump to AI in education, if it is okay with
Sure.
you. Yeah. So basically, every day we are seeing that more and more AI tools are emerging that promise, among other things, for example, personalized learning, improve education itself, the learning process, etc. Some even talk about the possibility of teachers being replaced. I have heard about it more and more. So my question, therefore, is, in your opinion, in your views, what important roles or tasks should teachers keep doing, even when AI is being here to stay?
Yeah. Thank you. You don't ask an easy question. And let me first of all explain how I may come to this question, because myself being a philosopher of science and technology, science education is kind of a relatively new field for me. And I am motivated and inspired a lot by the colleagues in my institute, the Freudenthal Institute, where I work at the moment. And so I'm also exposed to a new set of questions related to AI. At the same time, I am myself a teacher and also a researcher. So I am exposed to the use of these tools by my students, what they think about it, etc. So let's say that I have multiple hats, and at times they are a bit conflicting. Let me begin then with a very naive observation, which is teachers are teachers of students, pupils, and we are human beings. So there is a human element in the teaching that is very hard to replace. Okay. And this, for me, would be coming from really sociology and anthropology 101, understanding that we are human beings in a social environment. And so maybe the question is even, why would we want to replace teachers in this sense? So this to me is a normative question to begin with. Do we want it? Now, there are many tools out there, and one difficulty that I have is to have a clear mapping of the tools that even teachers can master and so integrate into their teaching activities, and which ones are really useful to enhance and improve the learning experience of students. Now, what is becoming clear is that if you think of AI as something that substitutes and does things instead of you, then clearly you are outsourcing the learning, and so that might not be very useful. So there is a more sophisticated approach that we have to take when we think of AI in education. But there my big worry is that if we only think about the students, we are forgetting that we need the teachers who have to be competent in using these tools. So there are two speeds in how things are happening. The students who are very adventurous, or perhaps they want to take the shortcut and they use many of these tools, and the teachers, including myself, who is not able to keep up with all these tools. And related to the personalization, well, perhaps this maybe was there before. I mean, how do we suggest students what they should teach? Maybe AI there can outperform because it can have access to more data. And if you write the correct prompt, or if you give the AI the right information about your trajectory and what your intentions are, there is a matching that is done in a better way. But again, there to be seen how much we can improve on that side.
So if I understood correctly, you see the role of AI more for enhancing human beings that how do you say, like replacing human beings, right? So
Yes.
human beings in the center, and then some teachers can use it to enhance the teaching and learning process, but not AI in the center, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, things may differ quite a lot depending on the subject. I hear from my colleagues in the computer science department that they have to teach coding in a very different way. Coding with AI now implies that they have to learn new skills, but it does not imply that they don't need to learn the basics of coding, for instance.
Yeah.
But when I supervise my students writing a master thesis in history and philosophy of science, there you really see the difficulty of understanding what AI can do and what is good to do. Because, for instance, if you say, I only use it to improve my writing, but you don't master sufficiently the language, in this case, English is the most common language that we use, then you may outsource a lot of semantic content to the AI, and you may lose grip on what you really want to say. So as a teacher, I would be happier with a thesis that is less good in terms of the phrasing, but where I can really see the students mastering the ideas and being able to explain what they mean, especially because we have to remember that many of us are not English native speakers. And actually, the less good English is perhaps a richness, because we input content that comes from our native languages. So this opens up another conversation that perhaps was not intended when you asked this question. But this is an example where I think we have to strike a balance between kind of correcting, say, the big mistakes without remaining faithful to our intended meaning, for instance.
Okay.
I love the situation that conversations go in unknown ways. because that's actually what AI is not gonna do, right? To go out of a conversation and explore ways that maybe were not prompted, right? So
Indeed.
So if I may ask another question, now it's more related to the effect of artificial intelligence in societies, in society. So I don't know if Federica, if you saw yesterday the news, but Spain and Portugal faced a blackout. So all the energy system was, destroyed. And when the government of Spain was communicating what happened, they were saying, the president was saying all the time, please, if you want to see the news, take care and use reliable sources. So we can say that one of the big problems that we are facing nowadays is fake news and misinformation, right? So
Yeah.
I was wondering, how do you think artificial intelligence will affect the spread of fake news and misinformation?
Yeah. I heard about the blackout yesterday. My husband told me because he wanted to follow the tennis, and he said that
it was
the
cancelled.
whole
Madrid
everything
Master,
was cancelled. So he was a bit annoyed. But I can imagine that have been even worse consequences of the blackout. So interestingly, you said what the consequences will be, but in fact, AI has already had a lot of consequences related to misinformation and disinformation. I've been looking to these problems because I coordinate a larger European project on the impact of deepfakes on democratic processes, and so we are right in the middle of the question that you pose here. And there are at least two elements to that. One is that when deepfakes starting being even more easy to create, they clearly started playing a major role in influencing political discourse or others. So some were really fun. For instance, when we saw the Pope in the Balenciaga coat, that was nice. I say this because unfortunately we don't have the Pope anymore. I don't know how he reacted back then. So, but that was funny at least. But some others have been less funny. I mean, videos in which Zelensky was making statements, or others clearly had impact. Many people were fearing the Third World War coming because of this deep fake being spread on social media, and this has not happened clearly. There has been a lot of subtle influence in the political elections, and past year has been incredibly difficult because there were elections everywhere across the globe. But then you see the role of the media, and this connects to what you reported from the experience of yesterday, the official and reliable media. Okay, so this calls for way more responsibility from the side of citizens to understand which ones are the reliable ones. So supposedly the X account of a newspaper, a real one, is a reliable source, hopefully, because this is also what I learned from our partner in media and journalism in the project. There are a lot of safeguards in their processes that prevent them from spreading deepfakes and misinformation and disinformation. Okay. This doesn't mean that this does not happen, precisely because social media are the platforms where these things are spread. So what you should distrust at some point is a random message sent by your best friend on why there has been a blackout or what was the cause of it, etc., unless the source is clear. Okay, so one element there is the deep fakes and the visual content that is created. The other element is the reliable versus kind of the general network. And then the other element that I wanted to bring in is the creation of content that is textual, the chatbots, etc., that now take part in this, and they also contribute to the spreading of disinformation. And indeed, the reliable sources are super hard to trust because there is a lot of uncertainty about the sources themselves. So at some point, I wonder whether we will go back to the newspaper printed that you buy at the shop, and you will be able to trust this. Although this information is not a new phenomenon. It has been amplified, and many things have changed with the advent of AI. So we should not just blame the technology. I think we should call for more literacy, awareness, and critical thinking and attitude, if anything.
So, thinking now of the university as a public institution with responsibilities toward society, what role should universities play in helping people deal with these deepfakes and other misinformation or false information created by AI, but not only by AI in general?
Yeah, interesting. There is a lot of discussion related to media, digital, and now AI literacy. And there are plenty of actions already unfolding with campaigns or even actions to really help the citizen becoming more literate at all these levels. We may wonder whether it should become a structural and stable part of the university curriculum to be sufficiently literate in digital technologies, AI, and media. And some of these discussions are already happening. I have seen already conversations with colleagues from different faculty whether we should change the objectives of specific programs, say the bachelor, etc., including some elements related to AI. And of course, we can't cover everything, but for instance, one thing that is under discussion is whether every student should have a minimal understanding of the fact that large language models are fallible, they may hallucinate. Of course, this is tailored towards the learning experience, but clearly it may have benefits beyond the specific discipline that you study.
Yeah, in fact, I was thinking, because if you read a recommendation, for example, from UNESCO or from European Union, citizens should be literate in media, AI, math, in everything. So sometimes I feel a little bit overwhelmed because we should be literate in everything, and I don't know if we can keep up with everything. So yeah, I don't know.
No, we can't. I think that one issue there is the technology is injected in society always at a faster speed than anyone can even imagine, preparing the society or the users for a good use. This is one thing. But the other one is that clearly we are creating new types of digital divides, especially between the more junior and the senior or the elderly population, because yeah, I mean, think about our old parents or our old aunt. They have a smartphone and they are probably on social media, and it is unclear how much they really grasp about how this system works, how they are giving away their privacy, what it means to reshare content, even if you're not sure, and who should be responsible for this education. Well, perhaps it should be distributed across school, civil society, family, and everyone doing their parts. But we are also making a big presuppositions that parents have enough understanding of these things, and who is training the parents so that they can train the kids. So there, I think you really open a can of worms, and I hope everyone can make their own part. So I am a university professor. I should certainly do my part related to university. I am also a parent, and I hope I also get support from the school, but also from I don't know, the municipality that put in place some programs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that's all for today, right, Fran?
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Federica, once again for being here today with us. I'm going to repeat that. You know, when you try to improvise and then that's not working. Thank you very much again, Federica, for being here with us today, for sharing your ideas. We have seen how AI is not only changing science, but also society and the schools. These changes might bring also important questions that we all have to think more carefully about. And thank you to all our listeners. Thank you for being here with us today. Don't forget to stay curious and keep asking questions. And see you next episode.
Thank you so much for your questions, for having me. That was really fun.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We made it.
We did it.
It's done.
Yeah.
I will stop recording.
I learned a lot from you, Federica. Yeah.
Thank
I want to
you.
listen to you more times.
Oh no, you're too kind, Francisco. I'm sure. I mean, all of us have a lot of experience now with AI. This is a big mess. My God.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's everywhere.